Hey, buddy. Hope you guys doing alright, man. So spiritual attacks and shit, like especially when you're doing stuff like I'm doing. After the incident last night, it took me a while to get there. I got there. I only spent like maybe 15, 20 minutes down there at the ice facility. It took me over probably a good hour and 20 minutes each way. So the majority of the time was spent traveling to the destination. And I partly did that on purpose because I was in kind of a funky mood before I left the house, and so I thought it did. I think it did help. Skate ride down there did help chill me out a little bit. By the time I got there, and I was in a different place in my mind. Um, Anywho, but upon dealing with it, like when I was skating back, man, I was even though I felt really good, like I accomplished what I came there to do. Like I did actually. Like the type of evidence I gathered is perfect for what is happening. Again, it's not even it's not about it's like being a big deal like of a crime because it isn't. It is illegal, which is wrong just because it's being illegal. For me, more importantly, I think this is being used as something to escalate more chaos in our cities. The New World Order. It's been I'm not even too deep into like what they're talking about, but my heart has a strong resonance to their existence here on this realm, and I do think that there is a collection of entities that might not even know that they're working together, but are working together from some other higher up centralized origin point of evil that is helping organize all these different parties unknowingly to them in a way that's helping create more misery and chaos on this planet. And one of the ways they do it is infiltrating groups and creating problems, and even police officers and organizations and the federal government. To certain levels, I think everything has been compromised to certain levels. And so, a part of the ways they do this in these cities is by creating these situations in major cities. And then with the cops, when you have these cops that sit back and like the defunding program, it takes the cops' ability away. So it like their whole goal is to make it look like they're doing everything they can while also perpetuating as much chaos as they can. Um, so the issue I have, first of all, it is illegal. Secondly, and there's good reason for that illegalness. And then secondly, but and more importantly, is that this is something that could allow much more chaos and destruction on this city and the planet. And that's the bigger issue at large, is that there's cops literally just sitting around watching these people demonstrate in a way that, and it's also not doing any good. Like, if these people are really about change, and if they really want to play soccer, they should go to a soccer field. Like, that soccer ball, they're just using as a gimmick. Um, and my point being, I'm sorry, let me just reiterate that if they really want to change things, if that's their intent to be there to protest, first of all, they should be. There's other places they can protest. They don't have to protest in front of the federal building, like that in itself is going to cause more tension because they're protesting against the very thing they're standing right in front of, and they're doing it. I feel like when I was there in the middle of the circle, I picked up on a lot of, like, just there to get attention. That was one of the big or just sorry, I threw up or to create conflict. Like, I think a lot of people were there just to argue and just to create fights and just to try to get views, and maybe some of them were even paid there to create conflict. And you have a whole other group of people that are just there to watch and into surveillance and to gain footage of what's going on. They don't even really care one way or other. I mean, they probably do a little bit, but they're really just there to document what's going on. So it's like it's just all this attention on something that's really not even that big of a deal, but it's getting a ton of attention, and it could turn into something that does turn into a really big fucking deal. And then on top of that all, the cops are allowing it when it shouldn't be allowed. They should remove these people, take them somewhere else, allow them to protest somewhere else away from a federal building. That's what they should do. And then everything would be hunky-dory. So that they're not doing it is negligent of their duty. And so that needs to be taken care of. All right. And then furthermore, as I was skating back, I was getting really depressed, and I think I was getting hit with a pretty hardcore spiritual attack because what I'm doing does have the potentiality to upset what they're doing. So anytime you're going up against this beast, they're going to hit you back with what they got. And this ties in very well with everything else I'm working on. So yeah, man, I saw a lot of good signs. Like, I haven't seen more triple numbers in my life, I don't think, than I did last night. So I got a ton of good signs, but I also continued to get like even more and more and more depressed. And then I almost couldn't fall asleep last night because I was also very excited because I knew I'd done a lot of good work. Finally went to sleep, and then as I was kind of like dozing and shit, I started to feel a headache coming on. And then as I woke up around 5-ish, it was like a headache mixed with a nausea feeling. I did my little coffee and shit in the morning, and it started to get worse, and I threw up a little bit later, and then the headache was fucking even almost a little bit worse, and so I think that was a spiritual attack. I think it's also a combination of me taking. See, this is also why at the pharmaceuticals, I think when you take these fucking things, even if you're not abusing them, which I'm not anymore, I'm taking less Suboxone than I've ever taken. Even that amount, though, is still like it helps allow them evil spirits, I think, entrance into my body, into anybody's body, depending on who they are and how compromised they are, and or just when I say compromised, it's just how changed your energy is from a pure, higher, original human source to something that's different. To me, that's a compromising of the original form of the human being. But that's also part of what needs to happen for us to grow. So maybe that word compromise isn't the best word. Anyways, all right, I'm feeling better, so I'm about to get some work done. And yeah, all right, I love y'all. Peace.